All right, part 2 on how to do your bone broth fast. So the first thing you want to decide is what dates will you be doing it, because I would recommend that you do it on days that are not extremely slam-packed with stuff. The first 2 days especially, because the first 2 days your body is going to be adjusting to having no carbohydrates. Your body is used to using carbohydrates for fuel. So when you eliminate your body of carbs, and it typically takes about 1 full day for all the carbohydrates that have been stored up in your muscles as glycogen to deplete. So by the end of that first day, you might be feeling like, oh, I'm starting to feel a little dip in energy. When you wake up on day number 2, you're gonna be like, I don't feel good. You might have a headache. You're just not gonna feel like $1 million on day 2. Trust me. But by the end of day 2 into day 3, you might start to feel this little shift happen. And that is the point when your body is saying, okay, so you're not gonna give me carbs, but you're giving me lots of fat. Let me start burning this fat for fuel. And your body starts producing ketone bodies out of the fat. And your body can use ketones for energy. It's a very clean source of fuel for the brain, is the way I guess people would describe it in simple terms. And it's a way that you can actually feel really good energy. So people that are doing ketosis and that are doing it properly, they are using ketones for fuel. Now, you are breaking into ketosis with this fast. The difference is that you are not staying in ketosis for an extended period of time. I personally do not recommend staying in ketosis for an extended period of time based on my own personal experience, based on other people's experiences, and most importantly, based on what some very smart doctors have told me and their explanation, especially for females. And more especially for weightlifters. So as a female weightlifter, it did not work for me. Actually, it really elevated my liver enzymes. It can really disrupt some of your hormones if you stay in ketosis for too long. Not to say that that would definitely happen to you, but it is a potential. So you're in ketosis, but you're coming right back out of ketosis as soon as the bone broth fast is done. So here are the things that you're gonna need to buy at the store. Now, let's say you decide to do the fast for 3 days, 3 to 4 days, which is what I'm planning on doing. I have done it for 5 days before, and it was awesome. Days 3, 4, and 5, I felt great. So I would recommend buying 3 whole chickens, okay? And you want to try to get a good quality one. So this one, for example, was the most expensive one, so I figured it was the best quality one. It's sad, but that's actually how I determine how I'm gonna buy my chicken, is which one is the most expensive, and the eggs the same way. So someone could really be ripping me off in theory. They might have like a crappy chicken and egg and whatever, and I'm just buying it because it's the most expensive one. But this one, it says, chickens are pasture raised on an organic vegetarian diet and never administered antibiotics or steroids, and it has all kinds of non-GMO verified, USDA organic, all kinds of stuff that made me feel better about buying this chicken. So I had 3 like that. You're gonna wanna buy tons of spinach or broccoli to get you through the 3 days. So what I do is I buy about like 5 to 6 bags of these organic broccoli florets. And then this is actually a bunch of cooked broccoli that I cooked this morning. So I season it with salt and garlic. So how you're gonna prepare for your bone broth fast. Oh, also if you wanna get some spinach, if you like avocado, you can get that. Most importantly, you need some healthy oils. Coconut oil and olive oil is what I recommend. Get rid of that canola and the soybean oil and the vegetable oil. Get rid of it. You could do a real butter, not margarine, a real butter like ghee. You could do that if you wanted to, and then get your favorite seasoning. Crock pot. You need a crock pot. So here's what you're gonna do. The day before you start your bone broth fast, you need to start preparing, because you're going to want to take a whole chicken, take it out of the thing, put it in this crock pot, fill it to the top with water. You're gonna let it cook for about 6 hours on high, and then I would test it to make sure that it looks like it's done, or you could let it cook overnight on low. If you let it cook overnight, then you would actually have to, let's say you're gonna start your fast on Monday, then you would actually want to cook your chicken overnight on Saturday. So almost like a Saturday night, you would want to cook your chicken overnight, because then it's a long process. Because then what you do is when your chicken is done in the crock pot, you take the meat off the bones, put it in something non-plastic so that it doesn't burn the plastic into the chicken, and so you don't eat that. But you're gonna take the chicken off the bones, you're gonna put the organs and the bones back in this crock pot. And the most important thing, which slapped me on the wrist for not taking this out, I forgot one of the most critical things of the bone broth. You have to put in apple cider vinegar, some kind of vinegar, about a tablespoon worth, into the crock pot after you put the bones and the organ meat back in, and I even put the chicken fat, like the skin, back in the crock pot, because that's gonna leach the vitamins and the minerals and the collagen and all the good stuff into the water. So you have basically your chicken meat in a bowl. You can throw it back in the fridge, feed it to the dog, feed it to the boyfriend, feed it to whoever, but you're not gonna eat the chicken meat. If no one in your family will eat the chicken meat, put it in the freezer so you can eat it when you're done with your bone broth fast. So that is gonna be a continuous process throughout, because you always are gonna have another batch of bone broth cooking and ready to go. So the bones and organs and the chicken fat pieces are going to be cooking in the crock pot on low for about 24 hours. So you might want to take notes on everything I'm saying, right? Because there's a lot of numbers and things to remember. So for about 24 hours, you're cooking that in the crock pot and letting all the good stuff leach out into the water. If I didn't mention it, then after you take the chicken meat off the bones and are letting it cook on low, you'll want to fill it back to the top with water, with more water. So when the bone broth is done, it's going to be super hot, let it cool, and then what I usually do is just put it in a big metal tin and put it, you have to strain it, so wait, hold on. Strain it, you take the crock pot, you put this over like a big metal tin, and you pour the bone broth that's been chilling in, or not chilling, the opposite of chilling, that's been in your crock pot, you pour it in here, strain the bones out, throw the bones and the fat and the organ meat out, and then you're just left with the broth. So don't worry, you're not chomping down on bones and organs, you're not eating that. It's just getting the good stuff out. So you have all this bone broth that's gonna be in your fridge. You're gonna also throw the broccoli, season it, throw it in the oven, and then when it's done, put it in this Tupperware, let that hang in the fridge. So your meals are gonna look like this. You're gonna eat 4 meals a day. Each meal is going to have about 1 to 2 cups of vegetables. You can do broccoli, green veggies, so broccoli, asparagus, spinach. You could do green zucchinis in moderation, or you could do cauliflower. Those are the ones that I would stick to, because if you start tapping into the other veggies, the carbohydrate and the sugar content may be too high, and it could prevent this, it could bump you out of ketosis. So basically, you just trust me, just stick to those kinds of veggies. And I know it sucks, but avoid the colorful veggies. And so each meal, about 1 to 2 cups of veggies, 2 to 3 tablespoons of oil. If you're female, 2. If you're male, 2 to 3. Or if you are someone like me and have built up your metabolism, sometimes you do 3 tablespoons of oil on top of your veggies, and a big cup of bone broth. And you're gonna do that 4 times a day. So you wanna pour some salt on things, definitely, because your body will be flushing out electrolytes much faster. You are gonna lose a lot of water weight on this fast for the sake of not putting carbohydrates in your body, because you're not putting in a ton of carbs. Then for every gram of carbohydrates that your body consumes, your body holds on to 2.7 to 3 grams of water. So when you see the scale go down initially, don't get all excited and run and tell everyone, oh, you're losing a whole bunch of fat on this thing. You're losing water weight to start. Can you lose fat on this? Absolutely. One of the main reasons why you lose fat is because your calorie consumption will be lower. So, I always say it's not calories in, calories out, but there is truth to calories in, calories out. It's just there's more to it than that, because things like sleep, hormonal balance and imbalances, stuff like that. So basically you want to make sure that you're eating enough fat. If you don't eat enough fat, this will not work properly, and you'll probably feel horrible all the way through the fast. It's gonna be very weird for you to pour 2 tablespoons of oil on your stuff. Trust me, I know. I felt the same way. Now, if you wanted to do like 1 tablespoon of oil and like a third of an avocado, you could do that as well. I do use stevia sometimes on my fast because I'll make a salad with apple cider vinegar and stevia as the dressing, and then you know, put on another tablespoon or 2 tablespoons of oil. And the reason why I'm pretty comfortable of recommending stevia, as long as it's a good kind that does not have added sugars in it, a kind like this, then I tested with a glucometer and it did not spike my insulin. So that brings me to my final point before I sign off. If you want to get super fancy, you can, I should have had this out, you can get a glucometer. This is what diabetics use. It'll come with a finger prick and some needles. So if you have questions on this, you can reach out to me. I'm not gonna really go through this much in this video, but you buy the glucose test strips and you buy the ketone test strips. The ketone ones are typically purple, glucose ones are blue, and you can buy them all on Amazon. Prick your finger, insert one of the strips, test your glucose level, test your ketone levels to make sure that this is working properly. Because if your glucose is too high, I would say if it's above 90, and I forget what they measure it in, but if the unit is above 90 for your glucose, then that's not a good sign. That means that your body is actually catabolizing its own muscle because it's not learning how to use fat for fuel, and it is essentially breaking down your muscle through a process called gluconeogenesis and converting that into glucose, and it's using that for fuel, or potentially that's what's happening. And the ketones, by day 3, you should actually have a spike in your ketones, and if you don't, then that means your body is not really producing the ketones for fuel. So you should see by day 3, you should have a ketone reading below or above 0.5. So again, that's a more advanced thing. I do recommend it. I definitely do it, but you know, maybe your first one you don't, and after you feel more comfortable, you try your second one. I think I mentioned just about everything that you need to know. Questions? Then find me on Instagram at Lindsay Day Fitness. Find me on Facebook, Lindsay Day Fitness, or my website, www.lindsaydayfitness.com. Bye guys.